Alright, what do we have this week? Borderlands 4 on sale a month after release, PlayStation account stolen, Steam hits new record for concurrent players, all that and more on Old Man Rages had the news for the 20th of October 2025. Before we get the ball rolling, hit the like and subscribe button if you enjoy the content. Kicking off this week we have Borderlands 4 on sale. Is it so underperforming that the game is already 20% off after a month since release? Well, we don't know the statistics, so take it with a grain of salt. It might be. Now, this whole thing also makes me wonder if it really will take as long as Randy claims to see Borderlands 4 on a deep discount. Considering what we have for Borderlands 3 hitting Steam right out of the gate with a 50% discount. Yeah, I know it was released before on the Epic Games Store and it only came to Steam 6 months after that. Now, if we're looking for discounts, well, Black Friday was roughly 2 months after Borderlands 3 released, and it was discounted. That's what, 2 months after the release, give or take? Could say Borderlands 3 lasted longer than Borderlands 4. Now, this could mean that the game is underperforming, or it could be just me pulling shit out of my ass. Take this with a grain of salt. Moving on, and yet again, PSN accounts are not safe, because apparently the only thing you need to steal them is just the public username. Yes, this happened to Acom_ in 2024, and it happened to David _123 last week. On the 7th of October, David's PSN account was compromised, even though he had an authenticator. Not only that, but he never received an email about his security info being changed, so it doesn't exactly look good on PlayStation's end. GGMux messaged David's compromised account, and he got a response. The quote hacker responded with, "So basically their support is dog shit. They're giving out stuff without verifying it because it's based in Colombia, managed by a sub-company. It's possible to get access to any user just by knowing the username, since the support is fully managed by Colombians that are paid $10 per day. You just need to call until one believes your story and helps." So basically, the account was stolen through pure social engineering. And I'm using social engineering quotations here because it's just pure nepotism on PlayStation's end. Oh boy. But that's not all. It was shown that it's easier to do, considering that in group chats, stolen account credentials are often leaked there, and they also speculate that one of the bad actors could be working for PlayStation support. That won't surprise me in the slightest. And in other news, remember how we talked about the Assassin's Creed Civil War game last week? Well, we're now back at it again. See people's reactions. The first reaction we have, Ralph Ineson, I'm gonna butcher that, I don't care, who played Charles Vane in Assassin's Creed 4 Black Flag, saying, and I quote, "Once again, fuck off." No chief, I don't think we will. If this pisses you off, you should follow your own advice. You also have the gamer here, believing that it was the coolest concept ever, even though we knew barely anything about the game. But it wouldn't be a journalist article unless they bring up politics. Because of course they have to. They couldn't get into mainstream media at the end of the day, so they want to turn game journalism into mainstream media. But anyway, they believe Ubisoft got scared because there's a, and I quote, "resurgence of conservative populism in the gaming space." Which to me, to be perfectly honest with you, sounds like utter dog shit. They probably threw that in there just because Assassin's Creed Shadows underperformed hard. And they're, well, trying to pin the blame on anything else aside from the fuck-ups on Ubisoft's side. And yes, they are right. There is demand for games where characters fight oppression. I'm not gonna deny that, but this is Ubisoft we're talking about. They'll fumble this as hard as EA if given the chance. And let me remind people, on the off chance there's somebody in the comments who's like, "But they made 6 other games." Yeah, the same company made the games, not the developers. And, well, you can actually see it if you play the games in chronological order. But wait, there's more. Screen Rant is also on the chopping block because they can apparently prove that it was a surefire hit. Oh boy, I'm waiting with bated breath here. Apparently, the reason why it was gonna be a surefire hit is because you're assassinating KKK members? Cool, I guess, that you believe it. But I need more proof here before I believe you. And no, the Red Dead Redemption 2 example doesn't exactly count. Different game, you know. The KKK does exist, but as far as I know and could find, really, the game is not about killing said members. Now, if you think that's bad enough, then you can just look at the fact that the franchise boss, quote-unquote, left Ubisoft. Yes, a guy who worked for over 20 years in the company is no longer with the studio. The Ubisoft staff were informed by email discussing Vantage Studios' leadership team to be, quote, aligned with core goals. IGN also says that the franchise boss got offered the role as part of Vantage Studios' leadership but declined. Now, fun fact, that's corporate speak for you're gonna be taking a lower position on the totem pole. Take it or leave it. It's a nice way of getting against somebody in a corporate environment without fucking over the company. From the company's perspective, at least. The Vantage Studios co-CEO didn't really like it one bit and, quote, had his own expectations and priorities related to Vantage Studios' creation and future. What does that read like? The co-CEO has the priority of making money for the company. I wonder. He also confirmed later on LinkedIn that Ubisoft asked him to step down, where he wrote, and I quote, "The truth is simple. I did not make that choice. Ubisoft decided to transfer the leadership of the Assassin's Creed franchise to someone closer to its new organizational structure. A different position was mentioned, but it did not carry the same scope, mandate, or continuity with the work I had been entrusted with in recent years. But I also owe it to my team, past and present, to state this plainly. I did not walk away. I stayed at my post until Ubisoft asked me to step aside." Tell me you messed up your 4-year tenure without telling me. Moving on, for once I can agree with analytic firms and journalists and can confidently say that no one wants to pay $100 for GTA 6. According to IGN, the market research firm Media Research conducted a study on the pricing of Rockstar games using the Gabor Granger pricing analysis method. Who the hell came up with that name? I don't know. And surveying more than 2,000 US consumers. Well, at least they realized it's a small sample size, but it's not about the size. It's how you use it. That's what she said. Yeah, I'll see myself out. Anyways, media concluded that $70 is the consumer's sweet spot for GTA 6. Any more than that, and the revenue would tank. Now, this is where our opinions diverge. I personally think it shouldn't cost more than $60, but I wasn't part of that, of the 2,000 people who were surveyed, so what do I know? It's not like GTA Online isn't printing money with quarterly earnings of over $170 million and an annual revenue of $710 million. That's all for 2025, by the way. But sure, yeah, consumers will be willing to pay $70 for it. Now, whether you should price your game $70 considering you're pulling, what, $710 million in annual revenue? I don't think so, bro. Not to mention sample size. Come on. Just 2,000? Yeah. Were you specifically looking for an outcome that aligned somehow with what modern AAA companies are trying to pull out of their ass with the pricing? Who knows? The head of the data and study co-author Perry Gresham told IGN, and I quote, Our research suggests that GTA 6 will generate more revenue at a standard $69.99 price point than the much discussed $100. $100 price point would actually leave money on the table. On top of that, the firm's game analyst Brandon Shutton added, and I quote, "Our research shows that 59% of consumers have some interest in purchasing GTA 6, highlighting the immense appeal and commercial potential of the game. This notoriety also makes GTA 6 the perfect test case to understand consumer expectations around video game pricing." I can give you a good expectation for video game pricing. No more than $60 for a AAA game, excluding DLC, season pass, and everything else. That's the ceiling. Anything over that is wait on sale. Simple as that. They also added some data to their statements. They claimed that 60% of the consumers would definitely or probably buy GTA 6 for $70, while only 35% would buy it for $100. 79% of them would buy it for $50, and only 16% would buy the game for $150. But with how the CEO keeps dodging the price question, we won't know until the game is available for pre-order what the price will be. I still wonder why they didn't ask for a $60 price point, but oh well, almost the game isn't going to be another gateway to GTA Online at any price point really. And now some actual good news. I know it's surprising to hear something good in this day and age, but hey, I'll take what I can get. Steam sets a new record of 41.6 million concurrent players. Hell yeah. This data came from SteamDB, and the article also mentioned how it doubled its peak from 5 years ago. And even more data collecting by the article mentioned how in January 2024 the platform hit 33 million concurrent users, showing that Steam is rapidly growing. Maybe the Steam Deck is paying off, who knows. The only thing I can't wrap my head around is if they're referring to the Steam Deck when they say the market is affordable in said article. So I would personally suggest not putting all of faith in that part and do your own research on the platforms you want to play games on. Moving on, Ghost of Yotei is back on the menu, hopefully for the last time because journalists are defending the game yet again. This article sends us back in time to when 2020 was, well, the current year and COVID was all over the place. Ghost of Tsushima and The Last of Us Part 2 were released. And okay, they also mention how Tsushima was beloved by, quote, specific right-wing culture war gamer crowd, and The Last of Us was placed on a pedestal to be attacked. Oh cool, we're off to the blame games right from the get-go. Yippee! Pro tip for anyone, if a journalist starts saying left or right wing, then you can just assume they're insane because none of this really matters when it comes to video games. You don't care what the guy on your team's political lining is, you care if he's good or not. But anyways, the article also blames the very same right-wing group for The Last of Us performance because it killed off its male lead and replaced it with a lesbian and another that was deemed too masculine for players to be attracted to her. Cool story, bro. I wonder how that will hold up in a court of public opinion. The funniest part of all of this is they claim that it featured a prominent transgender character that drew the ire of the right-leaning gamers and just didn't have anything to show for it. That game had a transgender character? What? After that bombshell of a statement on there, and they went over to Ghost of Tsushima, and it kind of left me wondering, how did I never see any of that? Granted, it might exist, it might not, but tell me a flower is white without showing me said flower is, kind of hard to believe. Now, on to the part where Ghost of Yotei comes into play. And yes, it was all just a setup to talk about how Ghost of Yotei is similar to Ghost of Tsushima and how it offers more tools compared to the first game. Cool, we established that. But then the article talks about how anyone who doesn't like Ghost of Yotei is right-winged. And we're back to square one, ladies and gents. They even used Grums as an example, who I'm pretty sure gave the game a fair try just from the quoted tweet alone. Now, don't really know the guy, so I'm just, reaching a conclusion just by looking what's available. The worst part of the article is that they believe the core argument is, I don't believe a woman could murder a strong and combat-trained man. Yeah, about that. Normal Google search can disprove that argument. And a fun fact for you all, none of the people mentioned in that or any similar to that argument mentioned anything of that sort. Hell, Project Eggroll's video is just a recap of why Ghost of Yotei and similar games failed. The worst part is the potential double standards with people like these, cause I can say with confidence that people who defend Ghost of Yotei will boycott the new Hogwarts Legacy game. I mean, yeah, it's fine to hate and boycott a game you don't like, but don't force your opinion down other people's throats. That's how you get people to ignore you and to flat out hate your guts. The article couldn't hold itself together and decided also to mention Dragon Age the Veilguard and how it got hate for allowing transgender stuff, but they never mention how poor the writing is or how it strayed away from the Dragon Age formula, which is what kinda killed the game. The more this article goes on, the more it ends up losing most of its cohesion. After that, it just boils down to, I'm the correct one, and anyone who says otherwise is a right-wing gamer. Also, for future reference, if anyone asks me why I hate journalists, I'm just gonna leave them this quote-unquote article and tell them to read it. And now, for a blast from the past. I somehow missed this last week, but apparently 48% of video game players are women. Cool, let's find out how they got those statistics. The 2025 Global Power to Play report was compiled with trade associations across 6 continents, including UKIE, Video Games Europe, and International Games and Entertainment Associations in Australia and New Zealand. Never heard of them, but sure, let's roll with it. This is the second time they concluded a report, and reading slightly ahead, you'll see they surveyed exactly 24,216 active weekly players over 16 in 21 countries. That is shockingly low number of players considering, as the previously mentioned Steam article alone hit 41 million concurrent players. Putting numbers aside, one has a lot more digits on it. But sure, let's give them the benefit of the doubt for the moment. They looked at the global gender ratio of players, and the ESA president Stanley Pierce Lois said, and I quote, "There are more women players than men players in 10 of the 21 countries, and more countries have a 50-50 split." Kinda hard to believe, but again, reading on. While mobile is their number one preferred device for women, 64% play on mobile, nearly half of the men play games on mobile devices, and it's their most used device as well. The gap isn't as wide as people suspect. They also went on and added that mobile is the preferred device for players overall at 55%, while the surveyed numbers is 21%, specifically for people who use PC or laptop. Okay, now where did the other 24% go from that survey? Fuck if I know. I guess they're console players? Or, who knows, Switch players? Since that thing's so underpowered that, I'm not gonna go into that. Now, going to the source and looking at the method used, they looked at people who are at the age of 16 to 65, which is reasonable, but they also used 1 hour per week as a minimum, which in my eyes instantly discredits the whole thing. I mean, I get that it's a bit flawed to judge someone's hours played, but I can't just go to a random person and say I'm a professional chef because I cook once a week. It's a bit ridiculous, don't you think? I also found another part of Reddit that talked about this very same study, and the user Zols Gaming basically broke it down quite nicely. They wrote, that means if you play Candy Crush for 10 minutes per day while taking a dump, you are now a gamer. And now I can't get rid of that mental image in my head. It's amusing. However, as much as I rag on its poor surveying skill, at least it's all done in good faith, because you can clearly see it's not another one of those video games cause violence types of messages. It actually tries its best to remain impartial and provide data like this, so this is just a case of he's a little confused, but his heart is in the right place, even if the players are randomly picked. And if they actually watch this video, maybe they can email Steam and any other game publisher for, I don't know, better data breakdown. Pretty sure Epic Games would be willing to help you there. Just saying, yeah, in conjunction with Epic Games, this is the data we've acquired. Especially if you say that you'll email Steam afterwards, you know. But anyways, let's move on. It's been a week since the Xbox news, well, decided to shake the internet, and let's see how things are going. This Reddit post leads to a threads page on Reset Era, which leads to The Gamer, that compile how Xbox is doing, and let me tell you, it's not looking good. They mention how Costco confirmed that it will no longer be selling Xbox consoles last month, and how, according to Redditors that worked at Target and Walmart, both of the stores began removing Xbox stock en masse. One of them is the user Jawad127, who mentioned that on Wednesday, the Target they worked at removed all the Xbox games. Under the same post, the user SpaceFox_85 mentioned how the Walmart they worked in is also getting rid of Xbox games and doing a store remodel where the new electronics layout will not contain Xbox games. The user code E1985 also showed a picture of their local Target removing all their Xbox section, with even their electronics manager saying that they will no longer carry systems, games or accessories. The manager also mentioned that all Targets in the Kansas City area are purging their Xbox stock as well. However, Windows Central claims that the two stores will not be removing Xbox products from their stores. This thing called their local Walmart to ask about this, and they said, and I quote, "At least to my knowledge, I haven't heard anything about like clearing inventory or anything like that, or about being discontinued," and still said they have inventory on stock. Looking at the quote retweet of it, the readers added context, and it shows another tweet where the picture came from r/game collecting from 1 year ago. I managed to find the post and can confirm it's the same picture. Sure, it says on the Reddit post 2 years ago, but that doesn't change anything. Windows Central also claims that they got a statement from Microsoft saying Target and Walmart, amongst other retailers, remain committed partners for Xbox accessories and games. So, who is to be believed? Fuck if I know, but I wouldn't put it past Microsoft losing sales because of the Game Pass price hikes. And in other news, Sweet Baby Inc. is back at it again with their idiocy. And this time they admitted their role in AAA gaming while wailing about how they did nothing wrong. Yeah, sure, buddy, and polar bears are yellow. This news, as per usual, was brought up by Gothic Therapy. Go give their video a watch if you want the full detailed breakdown of this insanity. No, I'm serious. Go watch it. They, after what they've gone through, I think they earned the views there. But anyways, this started during August 2025, where Kim Belair described her team's direct involvement in games like Marvel's Spider-Man 2 and Alan Wake 2 as something that goes far beyond simple narrative consultation. Her team worked on, quote, the narrative beast and characters work for both projects, which breaks the claim that Sweet Baby Inc. only provides consultation and doesn't have hands-on development. Now, this next bit is the second funniest thing today that I've seen about them, but when she was asked about critics, she said this, and I quote, there are thousands of videos about us, but of those people, none has written to us to say, hey, can I just ask a couple of questions about how this works? Well, lady, I don't need to think too hard on it, but if people reached out to you with the hard-hitting questions, I'm pretty sure you would turn tail and run in the opposite direction. Hell, even the article mentions how Smash JT and other creators have publicly attempted to contact them, and those attempts were left unread. But this rollercoaster of delusions does not end there, however, because she described the creative process as a, quote, battlefield where you, quote, fight for their baby, even when the ideas conflict with a game's established direction. Oh, brother. Merely reading that gave me a mental heart attack. Imagine being so stuck up in your ideals that you ignore everything else. Makes me think they do act like a baby, and that's why they named themselves Sweet Baby Inc. Sadly, they sound more like a bunch of Karens that are on a power trip. Hell, she even believes that when we fight wokeness that we are fighting progressiveness and are fighting against ourselves. I mean, I too can sit here and claim falsehoods and ignore the other side, but that wouldn't be very wise now, would it? She's actively losing money for both herself and anyone who works with her and her team, all because she can't understand that gamers want a good game and not a political message. She even believes that her team did nothing wrong and that they did the best they could. If this is truly the best that they can do, I would rather pick up a bunch of monkeys, put them in front of typewriters, and hope I will get something close to Shakespeare. She couldn't even bring up the catalyst that dragged them out in the sunlight, which, for the few of you who don't follow the story, was the conduct of the former employee Chris Kindred, who tried to use social media to get Cabrutus Rambo banned on Steam. Even Riding Raven mentioned in the video that this allows her to frame and control the narrative. And for those curious, the Steam group is the funniest shit I've seen today. Yes, a Steam group all dedicated to just praising DEI and anything involving SBI. Well, could be a troll group, could be Sweet Babying themselves doing this, since there isn't much information about who made the group, but the delusions surrounding the company are funny as all hell. And to wrap up this week, viral tweets, reposts of articles, and the EA buyout. I'll be perfectly honest with you, I couldn't think of a way to do them in separate stories, so one lump sum, here we come. So, a tweet went viral, and I do mean viral this week. Player Max over here tweeted this out with the image of good-looking female characters on the left versus the result of hitting someone in the face with a shovel on the right. And the Roach King himself, Asmongold, ratioed the tweet hard by simply saying, and I quote, "How many cosplays exist of characters on the left versus the right? Not only do men disagree with you, but women do too. Actions speak louder than words. Come back to reality. There's no reason to do this to yourself." And I can see the raging dumpster fire already. She did also add a tweet by saying, "You know how many video games out there force me to play as a man I'm not attracted to? Nearly all of them. But you don't see me crying because I can't have a wank over some pixels. Grow up." Well, let me tell you something first of all. That's fine and all, but we're also entitled to our own opinion. And second off, you are the one crying right now about all of this. How about you grow up? Now, that's enough of delusional takes on Twitter. Now on to copy-pasting old articles. GameRant tried to promote their old articles in order to get some extra clicks. The best part of all of this is their piss-poor attempt at making it look like the boycott of Hogwarts Legacy that they're referring to in their article is a big deal. In reality, not so much. As pointed out by the reader context here, reminding them that the boycott was a very niche thing and the game still managed to sell 35 million copies. Now, I have a message to the developers. Give the players more of the same and you earn even more cash. And lastly, we have more people losing their minds over the EA buyout. Video game union workers publicly opposed the EA sale to Saudis and equity firms. A union representing video game workers of the USA released a statement on behalf of EA's employees and said that the $55 billion deal will, quote, further concentrate the power and wealth into the hands of a few gatekeepers while doing nothing to address the concerns of players and workers. EA is not a struggling company, with annual revenue reaching $7.5 billion and $1 billion in profits each year. EA is one of the largest video game developers and publishers in the world. EA's success has been entirely driven by tens of thousands of EA workers whose creativity, skill, and innovation made EA worth buying in the first place. Yet we, the very people who will be jeopardized as a result of this deal, were not represented at all when this buyout was negotiated or discussed. Alright, let's get this shit out of the way. I'm not gonna sit here and spout that the deal will be all sunshine and rainbows, because I believe they might monetize the hell out of any new EA game they make, but what they're asking for is not the way. They want the new owners sit with roughly 14,000 employees and ask each and every one of them for their concerns? I mean, if they truly believe that's something important, they themselves should take up the mantle and ask the employees, but, well, let's be real, we all know it's easier to talk shit than start shoveling it. If they really did want to represent EA workers, then they could have actually given proper demands instead of something vague like employee concerns. To me, personally, this screams we have nothing that we can say here of substance, but we don't want the Saudis and the firms that are buying EA to buy them. They even further added, and I quote, every time private equity or billionaire investors take a studio private, workers lose visibility, transparency, and power. Decisions that shape our jobs, our art, and our futures are made behind closed doors by executives who have never written a line of code, built words, or supported live services. I think I just threw up in my mouth towards the end of that statement. And here's the thing. That's why unions exist in the first place, to allow those workers to have some sort of power, but if you just sit here with a petition to the US Federal Trade Commission that is half-baked, you will look like the laughingstock. Do better next time. You can't just sit here and expect people who perform badly to keep their jobs. And on that note, that's all for this week. Again, if you like the content, hit the like and subscribe button, share the video, and I'll see you next time.